Hello there.
You know what I've come for. This is the way.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Hello and welcome to The Pod Awakens. We're going to be recapping The Bad Batch, Episode 3, which premiered not that long ago in a galaxy right here. It's called Replacements, and it was directed by Nathaniel Villanueva, written by Matt Michnovetz, and it was aired May 14th, 2021 on Disney Plus with a runtime of 24 minutes, 47 seconds, which is the shortest of the 3 episodes so far. So let's go ahead and just, the official description here. The Batch gets stuck on a desolate moon, but a lot more happened than that. And in fact, we get some more Crosshair in this episode, and his plotline was the most interesting out of all of the ones that were taking place this week. So, to start us off here, Omega is reading a data pad, and Hunter is kind of concerned that Omega doesn't have her own place to really sleep or be comfortable, and she assures him that she's fine, and Hunter gives her a ration bar, and Wrecker gets one and devours it instantly, and he asks for another, but Hunter says that the rations are low. And Omega steps up and offers her bar, and Wrecker's going to reach for it. He's going to try to eat it, but Hunter pulls him aside and pretty much says, like, hey, she doesn't even have somewhere to sleep, and Wrecker understands. He gets it. And Omega gets to keep it, and she eats her food. The lights flicker for a moment, but there's something wrong with the ship after they left Salakamai, and they're going to crash land on a moon here. That is Echo is going to try to find out what's wrong here. Echo and Tech are trying to determine what's going on. Tech determines that one of the ship's capacitors were damaged in the skirmish on Salakamai and needs to be replaced, and they have one to spare, so it works out perfectly. Omega pulls down something asking if this is what they're looking for, but it's actually just Crosshair's weapons kit. And everybody's kind of sad, right? They're kind of sad that they lost their brother. It's something we haven't really touched on yet, because of that kind of late turn at the end of the first episode by Crosshair, and last week not really featuring much of him at all. I don't know if we saw Crosshair at all, except for maybe... No, I'm not sure. But, so they hadn't had a lot of time to think about it. Tech suggests that Crosshair's betrayal is probably due to his inhibitor chip. They don't really know what's going on. And we know that it is partly due to the inhibitor chip, if not fully due to the inhibitor chip. Due to him saying, good soldiers follow orders, which is very Order 66 if you watched the last arc of the Clone Wars. So that's something that's interesting there. On Kamino, so we're going to go back to Kamino here, and Crosshair is undergoing a medical scan, and Nala Se tells Tarkin that Crosshair is responding well to the procedure. I guess they have to redo this every so often to make sure he's staying compliant, like reshock him. Like in the first episode when they kind of like upped the ante on the inhibitor chip. I think that's what they're doing every time now, which is going to make him really brutal here later in the episode. We get introduced to Vice Admiral Rampart, and Tarkin congratulates him due to the chain codes that we all know on Salakamai. What's interesting, though, is so this is our first introduction to Rampart, but he is the one who's like in the hologram stating about chain codes and such in the second episode, Cut and Run. So we see him there, but this is our first like formal introduction. Tarkin asks about Project War Mantle, which is a fun little Easter egg. Jyn in Rogue One comes across Project War Mantle when she's going to look through all of the projects on Scarif, when she's going through the records. And they just mentioned Project War Mantle. They don't really understand they don't really say what it is, but it does seem like what it is that Rampart has got these new recruits who are going to be they're going to train. All right, so this is our first initiative of Tarkin's full arc here, right? Like in the first episode, Tarkin kind of tells the clone makers on Kamino, we're no longer going to be using clones because yes, we have a contract, but you actually signed that with the Republic, not the Empire. You know, that whole conversation that Tarkin had, and it's cheaper for them to get recruits, and this is what they're trying to do, and they're going to try to have the clones train the recruits so that way they can maybe pass on some of their expertise. It doesn't really work that way. You know, Rampart tells Tarkin that his vision is a large army of enlisted soldiers. Nala Se tries to say, hey, we can actually provide enough clones for that army, but they insist that a combination of the recruits and that are trained by clones would be the better strategy, and Tarkin supports this. And they show the first elite squad here, and it's 4 people that they have signed up here. We go back to the moon. We go to Echo and Tech, who are replacing the capacitor. Echo hears a sound, so he goes to check on it. Tech is fixing it. But other systems are failing now, and it is a creature on this moon who pulls out the capacitor. And the cabin goes dark. They lose their light source. Omega sees the creature. It is a Ordo moon dragon, and it's a species which feeds on pure energy, and would have stolen the part that they need because of the energy it stores. So they make sure that every other system's online, and Hunter is going to retrieve the capacitor. He tells Wrecker, who was injured in the crash, he complains about his head, to stay behind. Omega says she's part of the squad, so she's going to go with them, and Hunter kind of reluctantly lets her go with. We go back to the elite squad troopers. They've undergone their medical checks. They're all talking about to each other like why they joined. And the one guy who's designated as ES-01, Elite Squad 01, says that that the Empire's provided him food and a roof over his head, and it's more than the Republic ever did for him. And because ES-04 had asked what they're fighting for since the Clone War is over. They're watching the squad over a hologram. This is Tarkin, Rampart, and Lama Su. Lama Su says that the recruits can never match the clones. Rampart disagrees, saying skills can be taught. So Tarkin says, hey, why don't we do that loyalty test that we did with the clones in the first episode? Right? We're going to send them to Autoron, and they're going to wipe out Saw Gerrera's camp and see if they can succeed where the Bad Batch failed. We go back to the moon, and Hunter and Omega are making their way across the moon's surface. Hunter is using his skills. He's a hunter. He's got that enhanced ability, and Omega asks if she can ever learn to track like him. Hunter doesn't really give a full answer. He just says that this is one of his abilities. That's his enhanced skill, and that Wrecker and Tech have skills as well. Omega, then says Crosshair as well, probably has it. And they kind of get in this debate of, Omega saying you can't really hold this against Crosshair because this is all due to the inhibitor chip. And Hunter actually says that he is actually upset with himself for leaving Crosshair behind. And I think this is where they're going to be going with this plot, as Omega says that, they'll find a way to get him back. And I think that's where they're going to go forward with this, is that they're going to try to get Crosshair back, and they're going to try to make Crosshair fix him, get his chip out. We'll see if it works. I think maybe with how much they keep zapping him, it may not work. So they go to Alderaan, the elite squad, with Crosshair being their commander. They're trying to get away here, but the pilot is shot by one of the elite squad members, and the ship crashes. The survivors, like a soldier, is asked by Crosshair where Guerrera is. She says that she would never tell him, and then Crosshair just kills her. This episode gets dark. The refugees, who are all civilians, say that they don't know anything. That they just want to get off world. And Crosshair is about to shoot them, and that's when ESO-1, the one who said about the Empire giving him a roof and food over his head, intervenes and says that, hey, the soldiers are dead. These are civilians. Let's not kill these guys. We can't kill these guys. Crosshairs says that those weren't the orders that they were given, and ESO-1 challenges him on it. Says, well, then the orders are wrong, and we won't obey them because they're not an execution squad. He tells the rest of the team to ignore the clone. That's what he says, ignore the clone, and take the prisoners in for questioning. And Crosshair asks, do you know why they put me in charge? Because, ESO-1 was kind of wondering why a clone was in charge. And he says, because he's willing to do what needs to be done, and he shoots ESO-1, and he says that chilling line that's going to be repeated, I think, a lot in this show. Good soldiers follow orders. And he orders the rest of the squad to kill the prisoners, and they do. This episode gets real dark in that regard. This is the darkest the show has gotten so far. And I love it. I love this whole scene because... And I'm wondering if Crosshair is too far gone at this point, because it's going to be hard to kind of redeem him after killing all these people. But, Anakin Skywalker got redeemed, and he killed a whole bunch of kids. So, it's a little different, I guess. Back to the moon. The dragon knocks Hunter over and runs away at the part again. His breathing mask has been knocked off. Omega finds the mask, puts it on, but Hunter is knocked out. So she's trying to call for help, but the storm is disrupting the signal, so she can't get any contact. And she follows the dragon into his burrow and grabs Hunter's blaster and slides down the burrow into the tunnel. She finds the dragon's nest. She finds the capacitor that they need. She gets the part. When she turns off the flashlight, the dragon calms down. And it wants the energy from the flashlight, so she throws it to the other side of the cave, and the dragon gets it, and she runs out of the cave with the capacitor, and she gives Hunter the part, who's now awake again. So back on Kamino, the elite squad arrive. Tarkin notes that it's down a soldier. Crosshair reports, though, that Guerrera has left. But the rest of the camp was dealt with. That's a way to deal with them. So Tarkin's also kind of impressed that Crosshair finished the mission because the rest of the Clone Force 99 didn't. So he's kind of unsure on what's going on there. But he does tell Rampart that the clone program is an expensive relic of the past. But it will continue to have a place in this for some time. So Lama Su and Ala Se discuss the conscription program, the drafting and the recruiting of people. And Lama Su says that it'll make the clone program obsolete and that they have to ensure that it stays essential. Now, Nala Se says that the genetic material from Jango Fett is degrading. And Lama Su replies that they must move on to the next phase of cloning, the development of a superior clone, which will secure Kamino's relationship with the Empire. They need a new genetic source due to the genetic material from Jango Fett degrading, and that the clones that they need are not going to come back willingly now that they're following orders from the Empire. Lama Su says that they are Kaminoan property, which is not a good way to talk about people, even if they are clones. And that they only need one. So, who do we think they're going to get? Are they looking for Boba? Boba is Jango's closest, like the first clone, I think, for Jango Fett. He's unaltered. Or do they want Omega? That might explain, I think it's more leaning towards Omega. I know a lot of people are speculating on Boba, but I think Omega, because of the fact that Nala Se let her go, like she helped them escape, I think in order to ensure Omega's safety, and she's going to try to find Omega to get this going on. Crosshair kind of has a weird moment at the end here where he comes in, he looks at the wall that Wrecker was always marking on the tally. He sits on his bunk. He kind of looks conflicted. I'm not sure if it's like he misses his brothers or if he's upset his brothers never finished the missions. What exactly is going on? If the inhibitor chip's wearing off until he gets another shock again? I don't know what's going on with Crosshair, but very interesting to see how this proceeds for him because he is going down a dark path right now. And it makes me wonder if they remove the inhibitor chip, if he's just too far gone that it has affected him fully with all these shocks. Wrecker takes Omega, tells her to close her eyes, leads her to a little section of the ship that he has refurbished into a room for Omega. And he has given her his Tuca doll, Lula, and she's very grateful. She's never had her own room before, so I'm not sure where she was at with the Kaminoans. And Hunter tells her that she is part of the squad, and that's the end of this episode. So this was great. This is a really good episode. Lots of fun. Mostly on the Crosshair part. The Crosshair part was the best part of the episode, and it was parts where you're like, oh, I really just want to see what's going on with those people again. The Elite Squad and Crosshair. So we'll see how it all goes for next week. I'm not sure. We don't really have any information, I don't think, on what it's called yet. Nope. Just that it premieres on May 21st. So, yeah. Looking forward to it. We do know that Ming-Na Wen is reprising her role as Fennec Shand from The Mandalorian at some point in this show, so we'll see when that happens. Maybe the Kaminoans assign a bounty hunter to bring Omega back, and that's why Fennec Shand gets involved, or we'll see. But it's a fun show. Great animation so far. Really dark turn that you didn't think was going to happen. I thought Crosshair would let the civilians go for a bit. I thought but no. Killed one of his own members of the squad. Made the rest of them kill the civilians. And this is why stormtroopers are going to have that reputation, I think, as being, or at least if the elite squad becomes the first set of death troopers, then that could be why. Why they're the elite squad and why they're so brutal when we see them in Rogue One and such, is because they've been kind of led to have this brutal mentality. But if you want to follow us over on Twitter, you can reach us at PodAwakens, Facebook.com/PodAwakens, Instagram at PodAwakens, or email us podawakens@gmail.com. We're part of the 14301 Productions podcasting network that includes things like Stoppage Time Soccer Show, Stateside Soccer Show, To the Infinity Saga and Beyond, and our Disney Parks podcast, Beyond the Dreams podcast, which is not had a new episode in a bit, but the parks are opening up. You know, like new stuff is going to be opening up in the park soon, so we're going to try to get some stuff about that. But I hope everybody has a great rest of their weekend, and I can't wait to talk about episode 4 of The Bad Batch with you all. See you next time.
I have spoken.
It's over, Anakin!